Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Rockies Now podcast. This is episode 104 of our show. We are, of course, instead of two people on today's episode, we have three. I am Tom, one of the co-hosts. I am joined by Chris and Sarah. Sarah, how are you two doing this evening?
Absolutely phenomenal, man. It's good to be back on Rockies Now. Been so busy with hoops and homers, but it's good to be back where it all began, so to speak.
Chris has got so much energy. I'm doing great.
I think Sarah, I think he's going to challenge us a little bit. We need to go from here up to here now, I guess, I suppose. We need to rise to the occasion.
I should have grabbed a Red Bull before we did this. I'm just over here drinking water.
I just love talking Rockies baseball, man. It's like my favorite part of the day. I just dig through all these numbers, all these news stories. It's just fun to talk about it with someone, you know?
Well, this year it really is.
Well, it's good to have baseball back in our lives, I think is what we can all agree on.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. That's belief.
Well, just to remind everybody, as Chris did mention, if you have not yet checked out his new show called Hoops and Homers, be sure that you should hit that subscribe button to the 5280 Media channel when you get live updates as to when he goes on his episodes, or of course when new episodes are posted. You can also listen to them on our Apple and Spotify platforms. So be sure to go and click that subscribe button to get more updates as they roll in. And Chris, you want to tell me when's the next episode going to come out?
Next episode is tomorrow evening, my friends, live at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So you're going to want to tune in. Garrett just joined last week. We have fun combos about the Nuggets and the Rockies. So yeah, it's a good time. Be there. Be present.
All right, everybody. He just gave you the preview. Mark your calendars and mark the time here. Be there and be sure to bring your enthusiasm because I'm sure it's going to be one heck of an episode. But, well, I guess while our energy is up, we'll just start talking into this. Is, of course, as we close in on the first week of spring training. Again, not much going on because just pitchers and catchers are showing up, but some position players are in fact there, as we're seeing on the social media pictures. Of course, as people show up, we did get some news. We had not one, but two additional signings to the pitching staff, which of course, as we've been talking about for years, Rockies need to add more pitching. We need more pitching. We need this, and this, and that. Well, we've got two ones, and especially one I'm particularly excited about. I'll get into that a little bit later. So first and foremost, the Rockies did sign, make sure I get this right, Tomoyuki Sugano. I think I said that correctly. I'm not sure if I did or didn't. If I did, I apologize. So we signed him to a one-year deal. He is coming to us after being with the Baltimore Orioles last year. And of course, we added someone who I'm excited about, Jose Quintana, who is a longtime MLB veteran. This will be his 15th season in the big leagues. He's coming to us after spending 2025 with the Milwaukee Brewers. So I'll toss it over. Chris, do you want to start? Do you want to go first? Why don't you talk about these two exciting additions to our pitching staff?
Dude, I've been waiting to talk about this literally the last 2 days. I cannot wait to get into these two guys because you've seen, at least in a lot of the comment sections, right, with the MLB pages that'll post like transactions and such. So they commented that the Rockies signed Sagano, that they signed Quintana. And then you go to the comments and it's all the non-Rockies fans who are like, oh, these guys are going to get absolutely obliterated at Coors Field. And so, that's not necessarily the case. You could obviously see that happening for sure. I mean, it's possible. But, you take a look at the pitch mixes. For instance, for Sagano, right? He's a guy who's going to throw that nasty splitter. It's a beautiful pitch. It's a low spin rate pitch. Works well at altitude, and it's his best pitch. He couples that with, I guess, a sweeper. He has a four seam and sinker. He's probably going to want to throw the sinker more here, is my perspective on that particular usage, because he's not going to get the same vertical ride that he got elsewhere before coming to Coors Field. So if you take a look at the tools that he has there, he is set up for success from an arsenal perspective. Same type of thing with Quintana. He'll probably want to throw that sinker more. I think he has a curve ball as well, and then like a changeup as well, something like that. Either way, they both have pitch mixes that can give them success here at Coors Field, at least compared to some of the other options that are available on the market. And so it's not necessarily a sure thing that they'll get lit up. Obviously, they're both in their late 30s. So if anything, that age is a factor. But I like the solid moves, veteran experience. You get a guy in Sagano who had good success in the KBO. It's a rookie last year in MLB. So he's got some improvements I'm sure he's going to work on after adjusting to MLB pitching for the first time. And then Quintana's been on playoff teams 7 of the last 9 years. And so just to bring that veteran experience in those types of circumstances with those types of teams, to this organization that needs that experience, it's just valuable all around.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree. And I think we've seen, if you look at all of the additions to the pitching staff this offseason, they're looking at guys with big pitch mixes. So I think these two guys fit in pretty well with that. Sugano did give up 1.89 homers per 9 innings. So that is a little bit concerning, but just seeing how this new coaching staff works with him or what they really try to focus on. I think that we could see some good stuff out of both of these guys.
Well, the thing that excites me, well, for Sagano, as you pointed out, Chris, I think one of the more underrated pitches or underutilized pitches in baseball is the splitter. It is a pitch that just rides in, it looks like a fastball and just dips. And luckily, if it doesn't miss the bat, you induce weak contact. Again, to your point, let me just double check here. He did have a 1.3 WAR last year in 30 starts, so he was durable and covering 157 innings even. Yeah, of course, he is 36. He'll be 37, not till October 11th, so we have to worry about a birthday during the season, unless we make the playoffs. Wink. But anyway, sorry, Rocky fans. I don't mean to dumb down the mood, and then Quintana, he will be 37 this year. But the thing is to your point, he doesn't rely a lot on strikeouts. He's not a big strikeout pitcher. Of course, to your point, he does utilize his number one pitch is his sinker. He does have a curveball and utilize the changeup. He doesn't use the fastball much anymore. And of course, if he does, it's not going to be throw. He's never been a power arm, even going back to his earlier days with the White Sox when he was either serving as the number 2 pitcher in the rotation, or one year he was in fact the number 1 guy with Chris Sale being traded. But the key thing about him is, except for last year, he did only pitch 131 and 2/3 innings in 24 starts. But prior to that, he was covering as many as 160 plus innings a season. And as we talked about in the pre-show meeting, we are going to need that. It takes a lot of stress off the bullpen, and of course, doesn't put too much pressure on new pitchers like Chase Dollander, for example. We want him just to try and be himself and learn. But again, these are two guys who, again, don't induce a lot of strikeouts, but they induce weak contact, high ground ball rate. Quintana's is over 40%. So that is going to hopefully play well this year at Coors Field and even away from Coors Field. But at the end of the day, it's another veteran arm that really can serve us well at the top of the rotation. I think he's going to be the third starter behind Lorenzen, but we'll have to wait and see. I would think they want to go lefty, righty, lefty, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Another little fun fact for you guys. The last time a Japanese player was on the Rockies roster, they went to the World Series.
Oh, 2007? Dang.
Yeah.
I guess Yinjin Ho back in 2018. I guess I thought he was Japanese. Am I wrong about that?
Korean.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, that's right. He was Korean. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
But no, I guess Sarah, you are correct. I thought maybe he was Japanese, but no, I'm wrong. Right. So thank you for thinking of that, Chris. So he doesn't.
To the point, really quickly, about what Sarah noted about the home run rate of Sugano, because that's something else that people have been commenting about really quickly. If you think about it, okay, giving up the 3rd most home runs in the MLB is not great, but he doesn't walk people. And of those 33 home runs, 24 of them were solo shots, and that's the safest possible way to give up a run. So not terribly concerned about that being a major issue at Coors Field. That's just a fun note that I'd add in there.
Yeah, in 157 innings, he only had 36 walks last year, so that's not a bad thing to have. And again, the less traffic we have on the bases can work out better for us. So, plus, I think with the improved defense we'll have this year, that could definitely serve us well too.
Yeah. Yep. Got an interesting comment in the comment section.
Mm-hmm. Lucas Giolito would ball in Coors Field. I don't know about that one. He does have a good circle change. Plus, also, I think at this point, I'm not sure what the salary I'm hearing that he's looking for. I think he's looking for 10 to 15 million a year. I think at this point, the Rockies may have reached just below the threshold of what our payroll is going to be. I don't know if he'd serve a good fit.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So you said Uncle Ted says Giolito would be a good option, but Giolito gets 18 inches of ride on his fastball. That immediately drops to 15 at Coors Field. So if anything, the IVB aspect would be interesting because that's non-spin induced ride. So, I mean, maybe Uncle Ted is trying to clarify something here, but the changeups in Colorado do work. So Giolito's changeup is effective, like Tom said, but I'm not really sure if he'd be able to survive with his fastball, it being a 4-seam fastball with that shape here. That would not work terribly well.
Now back to his days in Chicago. When he went from the worst pitcher in baseball in 2018 to 2019, where he was an all-star and a Cy Young contender, he had an excellent circle change, which he, as you point out, Chris, he mixed well with his fastball. But again, I don't know, because he does live up in the zone with his fastball, and he does have a nice slider. It's a short leg breaking slider. But again, he'd really have to adjust his strategy if he wants to pitch successfully at Coors Field. I don't know. And again, Ted, even if that's how much he's asking for, I don't know if the Rockies are willing to pay that right now. I mean, they're paying Quintana less than $10 million right now to help round out the rotation. Whether I'm right or not about that, I just don't think he'd be a good fit for us. And I don't think the Rockies are looking to add another veteran to the rotation based on, I know we want to give some of our young guys innings to pitch, and he takes away from that.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
But I could be wrong. I mean, I don't have a magic crystal ball here in front of me, so I wish I did.
I don't think we need to go and sign another starting pitcher.
I would agree with that.
I mean, if we had to give one, let's go around. I want to quickly go around the table and say, if you could have a player of any position, you can pick any of the 9 or on the field, or even to the bullpen or starter, what would you guys think we would do? If you just tell Paul DePodesta in the front office, please sign someone for this position, what would you guys go? Let's go around. Sarah, what do you think?
I'm going one of the corners. First or third to me still. I mean, I know we've picked up some infielders, but I don't know that anybody's really locked in to one of those positions yet. We've got guys that are going to compete there, which of course Warren has said that that's going to be a big thing in spring training, is there's going to be a lot of competition. But I would want somebody that is just absolutely solid in one of those two positions that we know, like, that's our everyday guy.
Chris, what do you think?
I'm gonna say that I actually don't think I would add anyone else. Shocking, believe it or not. I think I like even the reality that we currently have with the corners, because you have Karros at third, underrated, honestly. He's not getting as much love as I think he should. But even despite the fact that he's the only primary third baseman on the roster, he hit 284 against the fastball in a short sample size last year. And that was second highest on the team. Got to be able to hit fastballs if you're going to play for this team and be a productive offensive player for the Colorado Rockies. And so I think that tool, combined with his fielding, which he also showed a lot of last year in that short sample size, is a good reason why I think he'll compete and earn the starting third base spot out of spring. And then at first, you have really just the 3 4-headed competition with Krim, Johnston, Rumfield, and then Condon. Condon's probably not going to make it, though. So I'm fine with the Krim Johnston platoon until either Rumfield or Condon comes up later this year. I don't really have anything to add. Rotation is set. The bullpen, I think, is solid. So I don't think I would really add anything anywhere.
We've got 800 outfielders, so
that too.
So, I think we can agree that's the one spot we have an abundance of, and I don't think we need to add anything unless you want to add like a 7th outfielder for the minor league depth, maybe. But I mean, prior to the TJ Rumfield trade, I would add a veteran first baseman. But now I don't think it would hurt to sign a minor league deal to a veteran catcher that's willing to come here and be the third catcher, just in case something goes wrong. Again, I think my personal opinion, I'll say it again, I think catcher is the most important defensive position on the field. And I love Goodman and Fulford as the opening day catcher duo, but I would think it wouldn't hurt to have a veteran who's looking to come in as the third catcher on the roster, just in case something happens, whether, again, knock on wood, injury, or just maybe need to rotate someone around for whatever. Maybe Braxton Fulford's having an issue and he needs to take a few days off, and you bring up a third catcher just to cover a day or two for him. Just something like that. That's, if anything, I do that. But I do agree with both of you that I think the roster overall is set. So maybe there's a 40-man change here and there that they make. I don't know. But that's just it. But either way.
Tom is not a Brett Sullivan fan.
Not necessarily either way. I'm not necessarily either way. I think I could go back and forth on that, but we'll see. I don't know. I'm not to say I don't have faith, but it doesn't hurt to have a veteran. Whether this veteran's the third or fourth catcher, I don't think it's a bad thing to have depth at the catcher position. Just like I said, just in case something goes wrong, because God forbid, someone at the most brutal position on the field takes a hit, the wrong kind of hit, and then we've got a problem. So again, knock on wood, that doesn't happen. So, so anyway. So why don't we move on to the second segment of the show? We're talking about the fifth rotation spot. Again, we've already talked about how I think we can say you have Kyle Freeland, we've got Michael Lorenzen, and now Jose Quintana added to that mix. We talk about Chase Dollander. He had a nice first set. It was 98 innings even, I believe he pitched last season. So overall, Sarah, I can toss it to you first. What do you think in terms of the rotation setup, and who could be if you see a favorite in line for the fifth rotation spot, what do you think?
I don't know. I think, because you've got, and I know this was mentioned the other day, I think Chase probably sits number 5, and then you do have, you've got Feltner in there, you've got McCade Brown, who was impressive. I mean, obviously was not, I don't feel like he was MLB ready or big league ready last season, but did show some promise there. Pearson Ole. So I think if Chase still continues to struggle some, then maybe you've got some competition there, but I really feel like that fifth spot's going to Chase.
Chris, what do you think? And also, I guess, Sarah, do you see anybody you'd be a favorite, even if they don't make the rotation, as being the long man or the swing man as the sixth spot, maybe 2 as well? What do you think about that?
Yeah, you first, Sarah.
Because
I do agree with you. Feltner definitely.
I want to say, I think maybe.
Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
I think Feltner probably is that swing spot for me right now, just because I feel like McCade Brown needs some more minor league time to really be ready to go. But I feel like right now Feltner is probably that number 6 guy, and then with some more time in the minors, I think McCade Brown will definitely move into a pretty serious competition to move in there.
Yeah, that's pretty solid. So I think there are really 5 main contenders. And I'm looking at the comments again. I see Patrick Corbin, Marcus Stroman coming up again. So I don't think like I said, I don't think we'll go that route of signing another veteran. So it'll be one of these 5 guys who are already in-house. And I think it'll either be Ryan Feltner, Gabriel Hughes, Dollander, Gordon, or McCade Brown. I agree with Sarah. I don't think McCade Brown is probably going to be that guy out of camp. He's good depth in AAA. Tanner Gordon, Chase, and Feltner are really, really tough. I've heard from a few scouts online that Gabriel Hughes might actually be more of a long relief option out of the bullpen than an MLB starter. So I'm going to consider him out of this competition for now. You like the potential with Dollander. He's got ace stuff, which is something this rotation currently does not have. He's got to throw his curveball a lot more. You can't be throwing your 4-seam fastball and cutter combination over 70% of the time and expect to succeed. So he's got the highest upside. If I had to pick, I would pick Chase Dollander. If I had to pick based on what I think fits the current mold of the rotation, then I might actually go with Tanner Gordon. Tanner actually won the most games of all our starters last year, and he fits the mold of not walking guys. He was 93rd percentile in walk rate in 2025. So if you want someone who's going to fit with that sort of, pitch to contact, not walk people type of vibe that the rotation has right now, then I think Tanner would fit that best. But I think ultimately it'll probably be Ryan Feltner because he's got the most experience. He's proven the most of those 5 so far at the big league level. 2025 was a weird year for him. Maybe he bounces back solidly in 2026. He was not off to a terrible start in hindsight in 2025 before he got hurt and then was not good in AAA. So in summary, I think it'll be Feltner. I'd like it to be Dollander, but based on the vibe of the rotation, Tanner Gordon would be my second favorite.
No Antonio Senzatella love from anybody?
Well, okay, now that's
I'm
actually
kidding.
interesting. That's actually interesting because if you had asked me 3 weeks ago, I would have said absolutely the heck not. But, there's been news out of spring training, early news, I guess, that he's working on a sinker, which would be life-changing for him, literally.
Wow.
He had the worst fastball, four-seam fastball in MLB last year, okay? So his curveball was good. Slider was good. If he gets a sinker that works more towards like arm side and he can effectively use that, then maybe I would like to see him as that veteran fifth starter. You never know. He might sneak back in there into my good graces.
I think he has. This is not a no. I don't think this is a contract. He either has 1 or 2 years left on his deal. I don't have it in front of me. Sorry for everybody. But I don't know. I was just throwing that as a joke. I'm not. Again, going back to Chris's comment. I think about 2 weeks ago, yes. But now that given what they've added, I think he's just been pushed down the depth chart at this point. But it is interesting. I mean, if you have Freeland, Lorenzen, Quintana, and Sugano as the top 4, you've got multiple options to pick from. But I guess again, real quick, I guess this piggybacks off of Luke's comment about has Palmquist can push down below Sullivan. I think also the other thing is both are on the 40-man roster, but I think Sullivan to me could make his debut this year. But if you want me to pick real quick to answer the question, picking a 5th guy, I think it's Dollander will earn it. Not to say Feltner, I think is the favorite, but I think Dollander will ultimately get that last spot. Either way, I don't feel discouraged by any measures, but I don't know. I mean, Sullivan, I think, is going to get his opportunity this year. I guess we can piggyback to the separate topic of discussion. Do we think that Sullivan makes his debut this year? And anybody have an opinion where they think Palmquist falls in the plans this year? Because as we've commented, this is a whole different group evaluating this team, and they're going to do this top to bottom. And as we've seen, they're not afraid to say goodbye to guys who they don't see with a future with. I mean, Yankiel Fernandez being the most recent example.
I really was kind of surprised that Palmquist survived that, to be completely honest. I don't think he's a terrible arm or anything, but it was a little surprising that he was not somebody that was dealt or let go of. I think he has kind of underwhelmed people, especially towards the end of the season. And in AAA, I was just not impressed with what I was seeing at the end of the season down there from him. So I was a little surprised to see him still be here. Sullivan, I think I don't think we're going to see anybody coming up just real quick in the season. He might be a little bit later if we see him this year.
Yeah. Palmquist, I like Palmquist, actually, believe it or not. The issue with Palmquist is a very similar one to the issue that Dollander has, which is that they both throw fastballs an ungodly amount of the time. He threw his four-seam and his cutter combined 64% of the time last year as a rookie who's not a terribly hard thrower, to put it lightly. So I think for Palmquist, honestly, I mean, he's another guy where it's just like if you convert him to a sinker and you can get his sweeper to get more of an effect, because now you have 2 pitches running opposite ways instead of this underperforming four-seam, then you actually have a solid long reliever. I think Palmquist has a chance maybe to earn one of the long relief spots in the bullpen out of spring training. We need left-handed long relievers right now. And so I think he's still above Sullivan right now, ultimately in the depth chart, but Sullivan still hasn't gotten to AAA yet. And so it'd be interesting to see where he starts 2026. It won't be with the big league team. It might be in AAA. I think it's probably likely he starts at least in AA and then gets bumped up to AAA quickly. But yeah, I like Palmquist, honestly. Not as a starter, though. I like him as a long reliever. If he can switch that four-seam to a sinker and then maybe develop a different third pitch than that cutter is a meatball cutter. It's a Kyle Freeland, unfortunately, if you go take a look at the shape. And so it's just, you can't do that here and have success as that being your third most used pitch. So yeah, I like Palmquist, but no, not above Sullivan right now.
Well, the one thing is as you commented already, with the top 4 spots in the rotation, somewhat, I don't want to say locked in, but you could say are covered, and there only being the 5th spot for one of the younger guys. I mean, also there are several teams, I mean, that do this when their top prospects are initially debuted. They don't debut as starters; they start as relievers, and then they're transitioned to starters. Does anybody have any opinion? I mean, again, we don't know for sure how the front office is going to handle pitching and how they're sent up and down, or how the innings are going to be covered, which will be interesting to watch. Do either of you have an opinion against a young pitcher making their debut as a reliever, then transitioning to a starter, or just throwing right in? You're going to be an every fifth day guy. Does anybody have any opinions for or against that? Because it can be effective, but just not in every situation.
Chris, I'll let you go first.
Oh, well, I would say no. Well, I would say no, not because I'm against the idea, but more so because I'm just not sure of the relievers on our roster right now who you do that with. I wouldn't do it with Jimmy Herget. I wouldn't do it with your best reliever from last year. You know, I heard there was some rumors that he might potentially be wound up to compete for a starting rotation spot, and I immediately was like, no, stop it.
No, what I meant specifically, like bringing up somebody like a Sullivan, starting him as a reliever, then eventually transitioning him to a starter. Not doing it with our relievers, but just starters, our top prospect starters. I mean, is what I'm saying.
Oh, for prospects, well, I mean, again, you take a look at the list here. I'm not sure who necessarily I would do that with. So I guess,
and I bring up the example because, and I bring that up as an example because, again, as a White Sox fan, they have a tendency to do this, like with Chris Sale or Jose Quintana. When they first debuted back in 2010, 2011 with the White Sox, they were served as relievers and then worked into the rotation when a spot opened up or the team felt they were ready. So again, to your point, Chris, most pitchers, they have two pitches. Young pitchers have two pitches they always rely on, but getting that third pitch is a key to becoming an effective starter, or have three pitches you can throw on any count. So, and as we've seen before, not all of our young guys have that confidence, especially when it comes to pitching at altitude, which we, as the three of us, know that's a whole different beast.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it's tough. It's going to be really tough for them to do that. So I would advise against it. Yes. But I mean, it just starts with how you develop pitchers too, I guess. I'd be more interested in them developing guys with the right pitch mix and then using them in their role, either as starters or relievers, rather than letting them come through with like these four seams that are ineffective and then being like, well, okay, you're good as a reliever. Let's transition you to a starter because, we feel like you might still be good in that role. Does that kind of make sense? In terms of focus on what they should focus on.
Let our opponents make those mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like, Chris just said exactly what I was going to say. I feel like you would have to have a good pitch mix for anybody that you're bringing up if you're thinking about doing that. But at the same time, do you really want to introduce them in what could potentially be some pretty high leverage relief situations and test that out? I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of the idea just because the mindset of a reliever is a lot different than the mindset of a starting pitcher. And I don't know that you want to take a young guy and mess with his head like that, as far as trying to just readjust, getting him up here and getting him used to a role and then completely changing that. I think that, I've seen it work before, but I just feel like it's better to work on making sure they've got that mix before they're even here and then focusing on the role that they're intended for.
Yeah, I mean, again, we'll see what this front office or again the new pitching coaches have planned for, or even with Warren, because we know, because Sarah, as you said when you were at Rockies Fest, seriously, Warren has his opinions. He's not afraid to voice them, and I'm sure his input is always valued, considering we're used to have, I don't want to be mean to Bud Black here, but we used to have an old man Bud Black with the old school kind of mentality. Because let's not forget, he was a pitching coach. That's how he transitioned his way into manager. But Warren, coming from more of a younger set and seeing a different generation of player, he definitely has a different perspective on how things are going to be managed. So that's something we just have to wait and see. And again, new front office, different set of a way of evaluating talent. I don't know. I mean, again, who knows? Maybe maybe there's a trade that could be in the works that we don't know about, because even when this team starts to turn back into contenders, hopefully sooner rather than later, some of these prospects are not going to be for the long haul.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll just see how that works out. Uncle Ted, yes, we know It's throwing the four-seamer in Colorado, especially when you put it in the wrong spot. The ball makes good contact with the bat. It's going to go a good amount of
Very
distance.
far.
I'll be modest, but yeah, to Sarah's point, it could go far into the upper decks, and we have yet to see one hit out of Coors Field. Maybe someday we will. Maybe if they give an aluminum bat home run derby, maybe we'll see a ball hit out of Coors Field.
I think an aluminum bat home run derby is a terrible idea unless you want to see those little kids that are shagging balls get absolutely. They're going to send half of them to the hospital if they do that.
Well,
Keep the kids alive.
Well, that's maybe probably we won't have them out there. Maybe it'll just be, of course, considering either balls are going to get, the ones that are hit low are going to get smoked, or the ones that you hit so far, they're just going to go into the stands. Maybe also we need to have fans in the stands sign waivers, because those balls are going to hit pretty
Oh
hard.
yeah, like you're gonna have people with broken hands trying to catch those things. Can you imagine a bomb off the bat of Vladdy Jr. with an aluminum bat in a home run derby? Like that will kill somebody
Or even
so fast.
Or even imagine going back into his prime, Barry Bonds with an aluminum bat. I mean, that's something also to think about too.
That'd be terrifying. I would leave. I would care. I would not want a home run. I'd be like, I'm out.
I'm not sitting in the
I'll be over
stands.
here.
Excuse me. I'm not sitting in the stands. Or you have to extend the netting from foul pole to foul pole around the home run.
I'll just watch from
Almost.
behind home plate and be just fine.
Or you can watch from
You'd have to.
or even if let's say it was held in San Francisco, you're sitting in McCovey Cove, you're gonna have to go back to the other end of the harbor.
Yeah,
that's definitely something to think about. Maybe
sink somebody's kayak out there.
I think maybe we could pitch this to some of the street. Maybe we could pitch this to Amazon or Netflix. There's an idea we can pitch to them for this. But then again, I don't know. I don't know if anybody would buy into it. So
yeah, that's wild.
Or maybe there's so many home runs that are hit that it just gets boring after 10 minutes. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm just
very
having
interesting.
I'm just having some fun. Hopefully everybody's enjoying how my brain is kind of wired and thinking here. But anyway, let's not get, I don't know if we want to get too far off topic. Here's a question we got in the comments from Luke. Anybody worried with Bernardino as the only lefty in the pen at the moment? What are you guys' thoughts on that one?
That's where you get. Go ahead.
Yeah.
No, you go.
Yeah, I think, it happened last year, and that was something that was mentioned a lot, was that there was only one lefty. And obviously you want to see more than that. I don't know. I think as solid as what they have out there right now is, it's not a huge worry. It'd be cool to have another left-handed arm out there, but it's not something that I'm that sends me into panic mode or anything like that. I mean, we saw it last year too. So,
well, we still do have Luis Peralta and Wellington Herrera. I mean, Peralta, he has been good since coming over from Milwaukee in the trade. So maybe his day, given what the setup of the current starting rotation is said, maybe his days as starter are no longer. So again, he could be serviceable out of the pen. What do you think, Chris?
About Peralta?
Or just the whole setup in general. I'm sorry. I mean, given the fact that,
I mean, just in general, yeah, I like Herrera and Peralta. Those are really the only two legitimate short relievers you could have in your pen at this point in time, based on the 40-man. But I like what I've heard about Herrera. We'll probably see him this year. I mean, at Rockies Fest, I was in the Q&A that they did with the pitching coaching staff, and they made a point to bring up Wellington Herrera just voluntarily. And so it seems like they like him a lot, and he's a guy who we should get excited about. So right now, I'm not worried about him Bernardino being the only lefty in the pen, because at some point this year you will have another one, and maybe Peralta makes it out of spring too. Like if we're thinking about the bullpen setup, and maybe this is something we'll talk about later today or on another episode, it's like there's definitely some room to squeeze some guys in and kick some other guys out. Just depending on how the whole thing shakes out, depending on if Senzatella earns his rotation spot in spring training, depending on whether or not Keegan Thompson makes the squad ultimately as a long reliever. And so you have some room to work with. But I think Palmquist or Peralta are probably the most likely to make it out of spring. So I wouldn't really be upset with either one, assuming they work on each of the things they need to work on, which is Palmquist switching up his pitch arsenal and usage, and then Peralta just working on some technical things that caused him issues in 2025.
So I think it's safe to say we're all three of us are in agreement that obviously not Sullivan, but we don't think Palmquist is going to make the opening day roster. I don't think so.
I certainly hope he does, because Keegan Thompson, I don't know how many people even know we picked him up off of waivers. If you wanted to create a pitcher who you wanted to see absolutely fail at Coors Field, it would be Keegan Thompson. So I would really like to see Palmquist get the long relief spot in the bullpen over Keegan Thompson, but that's just me, I suppose.
Sarah?
I don't know. I mean, I think I would have to. I don't know a whole lot about Keegan Thompson. That's not one that I've looked too terribly into, because I was late finding out that we did pick him up. Chris, you're kind of right on that. I remember seeing the name and I was like, wait, where did he come from? And went and looked, and I was like, oh, okay. Okay. I got you. But I don't know a whole lot about him to really be able to voice too solid of an opinion on that one. I think, I don't know. A lot of it is also going to be, we saw Warren playing a lot um, with the roles that these different guys were playing in the bullpen last year, and I think you've still got your Zach Agnos that's going to have a spot in there, and I mean Juan Mejia was Warren's guy. Like, that was his dude. He was always going to Juan Mejia. So I think, I don't know. I mean, if Palmquist, again, it's going to be, he's going to have to change, as Chris said, his usage and his pitch mix in order to really have a spot. But it would be cool to see him do that. Like, I'm not a Palmquist hater. Like I said, I was surprised he made it through all of this, but obviously they see something in him if he's still here.
Well, every year I always see at least two lefties in every pen. I mean, also there's the thought of maybe if they don't see somebody, maybe one of the starters working out long term as a starter, maybe they work in two long relievers, so they have two guys to cover extra innings in case the starter does have a bad outing. I mean, I don't know what. I'm just, thinking if he, what you say, Santantella is working on that sinker, maybe he does make it as the second long man. Who knows? Again, I'm just throwing ideas out here, but it never hurts to have two guys who can cover multi-inning appearances, because as I see it, they're going to need a lot of innings covered, and taking stress off of the main relievers. Like, you want to take stress off Halverson and Vodnik and those guys, and even Juan Mejia. I'm sure, you don't want those guys pitching more than 65 innings in a season. You want to try and preserve them. I'm not trying to say the Rockies are going to be in a lot of blowout losses, but in blowout losses, it's nice to have somebody who you can always turn to just to cover those extra few innings at the end of the day. And I don't know I'm just always not gung-ho about putting in position players to pitch. You do get some guys who are good at it, and it makes some funny moments, such as, who was it? One of my favorites was D. Gordon, just lobbing one in, and it hits
Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah, he just kind of plays along. Oh, you hit. It's so you do get caught, or when Anthony Rizzo striking out Freddie Freeman is a comical one.
That's a great moment.
But again,
I mean,
yeah,
you got to give it up though, as far as Rockies position players pitching. Jacob Stallings held it down in that inning he threw in that big loss to San Diego last year. That that comes up in my house all the time. If anytime we see anything Jacob Stallings, it's like, you remember that inning he pitched?
Mm-hmm.
Jacob Stallings the
ace. Jacob Stallings the ace, and then you had Austin Nola, I think, pitch an inning against the Blue Jays in a blowout loss in August, and he gave up 8 runs in 1 inning. It was like, there's levels to this, and Jacob Stallings is at the top.
It's, you may get the scoreless appearances, or sometimes you may get those just 8-run appearances. It just depends. I mean, just like there's pitchers who can hit, and then position players who can somewhat pitch, and then you get the exact opposite, ones who just can't hit or the ones who just can't pitch. So, flip the coin. To me, it's always a 50-50 thing. You never know how that's going to go. So again, that should be a future episode. What are our favorite moments, non-traditional moments in baseball, whether it's our favorite pitchers going for hits. I mean, there's guys who like Madison Bumgarner, who would have the one batting glove on his left hand and would just kind of every so on run into one. Or, of course, we talk about the funny moments where position players are on the mound. So we'll see. That's always an interesting one. All right, so just in the comments here, Lux just talking about he thinks our best bullpen arm will probably be Seth Halverson. I guess that brings up something I've always talked about. What do you guys think? Do you think that Warren Schaefer and the new pitching coaches are going to pick an actual closer who's going to be the closer, or is it going to be a closer by committee, pending who's available? Is it going to rotate? What do you guys think on that one? Because there's some options. I mean, I know Vodnik is obviously going to be running if they decide to go with the guy who is the closer for the ninth inning.
Yeah, I think Vodnik probably, if you're right, I think if they're gonna have but I also think for a little bit, it's probably gonna be a little bit of a committee. It'll be a little bit of a rotation, because you did have, I mean, Zach Agnos has thrown some pretty good closing spots as well. But I think to me, it feels like Vodnik probably has that role more locked in than anybody else does. But I think Warren is going to play with this a lot right in the beginning.
Yeah,
Chris, what do you think?
He probably will, which is unfortunate because I hate closer by committee. Just make somebody the man and give him the ninth inning, So I like Victor Vodnik. He has the nickname down, the super villain. He was a good reliever last year. Didn't he have like a sub-3 ERA or like a low 3 ERA, I think, at the end of the year? Ultimately, I think he should be the closer coming out of spring. Obviously, spring performance pending, but I would like that. I actually don't think Halverson makes the opening day roster. I don't.
Well, where is he at in his rehab?
Exactly. Right. That's what I was thinking. Not quite sure. Maybe Tom has info, but
I have not seen. Again, that's why we talked about the pre-show meeting. I was hoping that we get a somewhat press conference availability from DePodesta or Burns, and I'm sure that'd be a question that we want to answer. Where is Halverson's availability at right now?
Exactly.
Yeah, I was looking for him at Rockies Fest because I wanted to ask him, and I never could. He was one of the couple of guys that I never did run into anywhere. But I had hoped I would get to see him and ask him that question, but I did not catch him.
I mean, we've gotten the KB news, so figure if we're getting that news, we might want to get update on the guys who will actually be on the team this year. So again, you would think that would be dictated, but I guess we're still not getting everything full transparency. But I mean, Vodnik's my guy. To both your points, I think we're all in agreement. Just pick one guy, make it his job to secure. And then of course, just obviously then once that's secure, then you figure out who are the 3, 4, maybe 5 guys who can be the bridge from starter to closer in a game that we're trying to eventually go for a save situation here. Because once you hanker down those guys and you have a plan in place, I think wins are going to be much easier to come by. Plus, guys, you want them to have set roles if that be the case. And that's just me. You want everyone to have an assigned role, and then of course they know, okay, this is when, because to your point, Sarah, obviously relievers sometimes don't know when that phone rings. Who was it? There was one recently in an interview, I can't remember who it was. It might have been on Foul Territory. Someone said, I think it might have been AJ Pierzynski just making a funny comment. When you're the closer and the phone rings in the bullpen, you know when and when it isn't going to be for you to get up and start throwing. So,
yeah.
But again, it's what we'll see. Okay, I think we both probably want to talk about this comment. I'm going to say, do we think the Rockies will pick up Castellanos? Mine is a no. That's a no. Real quick, he's not a formidable defender anymore, even when he was somewhat a below league average defender. That's my opinion on him. And I don't think we want to give any of our bats that we have allocated to him. I think at this point, plus we talked about, we have a crowded outfield anyway. I think all of our bats are basically ready to be allocated among young players and the veterans that we have. So me, it's no.
Yeah. I mean, I'm right there with you. I don't really know where you put him. You're not going to play in the outfield, and first base already has at least 3 competitors. So really no reason to go out and bring Castellanos in. He'll probably end up somewhere on like the Pirates or something. I don't know.
I could see him going back to Cincinnati. I will start all of this off with, I love Nick Castellanos. I absolutely love him as a player. He's got a huge heart for the game. I think he's great. But when I saw this news earlier today, I posted something on X and I was like, I wish the Rockies didn't have 800 outfielders right now. I would be more interested in this news because he's not coming here. There's nowhere to put him. you couldn't even put him in a DH role really because that's, I mean, you got to assume that if Mickey's not in right, he's your DH. Or perhaps if Braxton is catching, that Hunter is your DH, even though Hunter is significantly less effective in the DH role than he is when he's starting catcher. I don't see anywhere that you could put Nick in this roster at all.
Well, fun fact about him, he was drafted as a third base. He came into baseball as a third baseman, which again, to Chris's point, I think it's Karros' job at this point to lose. But I guess another funny thing, he made his debut and he played first 7 or 8 years, 6, 7 or 8 years with the Tigers. Justin Verlander, as we know, is doing a full turn back to where his career all began. Do we see the same thing with Nick Castellanos? Who knows? But I think Detroit's in the same boat. I don't think they have any spot really for him at this point. So again, Nick, he was Nicholas. I'll just prefer it full first name there. He was an exciting player. I do think he's got some really cool tattoos. He had some productive years in Philly, but I guess maybe, to your point, Sarah, I think he looked good in a Pirates uniform.
Yeah, I can see him, and I know Verlander did defer quite a bit of that money. I think he's only getting $1 million this year, and the rest of it's deferred till 2030, if I saw that right.
Something like that. I didn't see the exact figures, but yeah.
So they probably do still have some money to play with, but again, where are they going to put him to? I think Pittsburgh has been picking up a lot of people. They went in and snatched up Marcell Ozuna during the week. I was very sad about that. But I knew he wasn't coming back to Atlanta anyway. But I don't know. You'd really have to kind of look around and see who could use a veteran bat. I don't know that Nick ends up on a competitor, even though that's where he's going to want to go.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You have to put this one Castellanos comment up on the screen. You know the one.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. Sorry,
you know the one. It's cracking me up. This is forever. Whenever people say Nick Castellanos, this is the comment that I think of.
I'm sorry. My apologies. I'm scrolling through it. Sorry, everyone. I'm trying to scroll through all of them.
It's the second last one.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I have to go all the way down. I'm sorry. Okay. So while there's a deep dive.
I saw just one last thing about Castellanos. I saw a little fun fact about him, lining up his home runs with major world events.
Yep.
And they just boom every time. If you see Nick Castellanos hit a home run, or if you see a significant world event happening, he is probably about to hit one.
That's why I love this comment so much.
For the listening audience, Wild in the comments said there's a deep drive and a left field by Castellanos. It will be a home run, and so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game.
And you all already knew that's what he was about to say.
Yep, hopefully so. If you didn't know that, you need to go find it for yourself.
I'm sure it's on YouTube. If it's not on its own standalone video, it's got to be one of those highlight videos of baseball.
Oh, it's there.
It's you just got to do. You may have to do some searching, but odds are it's probably somewhere on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, interesting.
Well, go ahead, Chris. Are you gonna say something else?
Well, I was going to say if you wanted to transition, because I'm seeing some comments in here about some position players. And so I was like, well, that would be an interesting transition to the third topic. But you go ahead.
No, correct. So anyway, with that being said, I think we're good on the pitching. Yes, we talked enough about the pitching, so I think we're in good hands on that one. So let's transition to our last topic of the game. As you know, on Rockies Now, we did release a potential projected starting lineup for opening day. So with that being said, I know we've talked about previously, it's going to be interesting to see how we know who is going to be penciled in for center field, but for the other two corner spots, given there is several outfielders who could be in the running, from Jordan Beck to Mickey Moniak to, of course, Tyler Freeman potentially making an appearance out there. It's going to be interesting to see how that shakes out. What do you guys think as far as that goes? Again, we're in the first week of spring training. A lot can change. A lot can happen. What are your guys' thoughts? We do have we could have some interesting position battles, particularly at the corner infields spots. I think, again, we'll get to this. Either there's one guy in particular I think we've agreed in the past is not going to be one prospect who will not be on the opening day roster. So what are your guys' thoughts initially as far as the goes? this early in camp?
Well, right off the, I feel like Jordan Beck is your opening day left fielder. I don't see that necessarily changing yet. Of course, we'll just kind of have to see how some of these guys perform. But I think the really big question is, what are they going to do in right field for opening day? Will it be Mickey? Will it be Jake McCarthy? Where will Tyler Freeman fit into that? Um, I feel like that's probably my biggest question as far as position players is just who's going to be the opening day right fielder.
Yeah, that's a pretty big question. But first, can we talk about this lineup from the Post? Who created this lineup? Steve, was that you? Do we need to have a conversation? What is this lineup, my friend? Okay, so for those of you who haven't seen the Rockies Now post, go find the Rockies Now post. But this is the lineup that was posted. Okay, Tyler Freeman playing second base, batting leadoff. Nicky Moniak, DH in the 2-hole. Hunter Goodman catching 3-hole. Tovar 4-hole. Beck 5-hole. Edward Julien at first base 6-hole. Brenton Doyle batting 7th. Willie Castro at third base, batting 8th, and then Jake McCarthy, right field, hitting 9th. So maybe I'm a little bit biased because I talked extensively about this on, I think, last week's Hoops and Homers episode. So if you're interested in the deeper dive on this, go check that out. But pretty much, I found the Dodgers lineup, okay, because the Dodgers are pinnacle of baseball right now, back-to-back World Series champions, okay, and so I looked at their Game 7 lineup to see if there were any interesting trends in the way they set their lineup. And I noticed a few. I ultimately created 5 different lineups on that episode, but this is the one I like the most. And this patterns the Dodgers World Series Game 7 lineup by the pattern they had with their averages. So not necessarily batting your best guys first and your worst guys last, but the way that they had patterned their best and worst hitters throughout the lineup. And this is the lineup I get, okay? I get Mickey Moniak at DH leading off. I get Tyler Freeman batting second in right field. Hunter Goodman, so we agree there. I get Jordan Beck batting cleanup. Okay, 310 on the fastball and hit 258 overall. Not too bad. Decent power threat too in the cleanup spot. I have Doyle hitting 5. I have Tovar down at 6, which might seem a little bit interesting, but again, just based on the pattern, that's where he was. I have Castro 7th playing second base. I have Kyle Karros batting 8th. Playing third base, and I have Troy Johnston platooning probably with Blaine Crim at some point, but I have Troy in batting 9th at first base, and so I like that lineup. That's a solid lineup, but what do you guys kind of think about those 2 lineups, I guess, if we were to compare and throw some ideas out there?
Maybe just for me, I'm such a big fan of having speed or someone who can be dynamic on the base paths and the leadoff spot. I actually have Jake McCarthy in right field leading off. He gets on base at a solid rate, and I like the fact if we can create some distractions for pitchers on the base paths. He's had 25 or more steals the last several seasons. I think it's going to be advantageous for us. I honestly will go with that. Then I'm struggling. The biggest spot I'm struggling with is the second spot, because I want to put Doyle there because I think those 2 together, I think could be very dynamic. Because again, if you get both of them on to set the tables for 3 and 4 and 5, the heart of the lineup, the opportunity is limitless, especially if they're both at the corners and you just say, okay, Doyle, first, second pitch, just take off, because if they want to throw down there, we'll just send Jake McCarthy right from third and just kind of get creative. So that's my thing. And then I probably go, because I'm struggling also whether or not to put Hunter Goodman in the cleanup spot or have him bat third. I'm also interested to see if Eduardo Julian, because they have him currently as the Rockies depth chart as the starting first baseman. But for me, I go. God, I'm going to go Moniak third as the DH. Then I would go Hunter Goodman batting cleanup as the catcher. I would bat Jordan Beck in left field going 5th. Then I probably go with Tovar at 6, playing shortstop, and then Freeman at second base batting 7th. 8th, I would go. Oh my goodness, I don't know why I'm blanking on this one. I would go eighth Willie Castro at third base, and then I would go. Wait, I'm sorry. Am I forgetting somebody? Hmm. And then at first base, actually no. I'm going to switch. I'm going to go Eduardo Julian batting ninth as the first base, and that's what That's what I would go with. Honestly.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Because and the
So
worst
what's your bench?
again, but however, I do think Rumfield does make his debut, if not on the opening day roster. I think he makes it sometime in the first 2 to 3 months. The only issue I have is it's good, and I know Sarah, this might pique your interest. Without Big Mike playing first base, I'm just nervous about having a 6-foot Julian or a 5'11" Blake Krim at first base, and the ball just kind of unscaringly sail over their heads because again, Michael Toglia being 6'5" was always a good safety net, a good guy to have at first base. So
You knew the ball wasn't going to get by Mike very often unless the throw was just terrible.
zero
So
chance.
yeah, we all know how I feel about it. So
I'm sorry I had to bring that up.
it's okay. It's okay.
Rip
It'll
Big
be all
Mike.
right.
Oh, brother.
I miss him very much.
What does your bench look like then? Because I guess this is interesting for me. The way that I set my lineup is that just based on the personnel we have, the lineup is going to be where your best defenders are and where your best hitters are. But your bench is not necessarily going to be guys who are good defensive subs. It's going to be guys who are more so pinch hitters in certain plug situations. Okay. Julian is not a plus defender, but he'll give you a good at bat because he doesn't chase and he doesn't walk, and he walks relatively a lot. McCarthy, same type of thing, doesn't whiff, doesn't strike out. And so to the point about McCarthy and Wright, that's probably where he'll play when he's in the lineup, but his arm is not great. And so you're going to have to hope that he runs a lot of stuff down, which I guess is reasonable. But would you take that over Tyler Freeman's arm in right field and Tyler Freeman's speed and his familiarity playing right field last season? I don't know. And so I guess that's kind of where some of these tough decisions get made if you're the Rockies coaching staff trying to figure out how to create this lineup. But I'm kind of interested. What do your benches look like for both of you? What do you think this bench looks like for this team?
I think, because I feel like I am kind of with you on, I feel like Tyler Freeman probably starts before Jake McCarthy is going to get a starting position. I see that as a pretty solid platoon. But again, Tyler was here last year. He knows a little bit more about this. But I also, and I've mentioned this before, I also really like the thing that Warren did with him where he had him batting ninth for a little while because of his speed when the lineup was turning over and having Jordan Beck there in that leadoff spot with a little bit more power. I don't think I would put Jordan Beck in a leadoff spot again. I just don't feel like he was that great in that role. But I do like the idea of having somebody fast both at the bottom of the lineup and at the top of the lineup. So I think Tyler is kind of a plug and play guy where you could put him almost anywhere. But I also I need to see how Troy Johnston does in spring training. I loved his interview. I thought everything about him fits what Warren wants to do. So I could very easily see him winning himself that first base position. But I don't know that I would start Julian. I do feel like he's more of a bench guy to me. But there's like 4 guys in there that I'm just like I want to see a little more of what's happening before I would really be comfortable making a call on it.
Fair enough.
Well, I guess for me is I guess with Julian, I don't want the lineup to get too right-handed heavy. And again, I have McCarthy and Julian in there because they are lefties to balance the lineup out. But I mean, as we talked about before, the issue with there being so many, there is a bigger than normal outfield mix. It's hard to work all those guys in. But again, with Fulford being the backup catcher, I'm fine with. It is good also to have Ryan Ritter with his athleticism on the bench. I think that's going to be so because he also can play short, second, and third. Second, short, and third. So that's helpful. Freeman, It is good. I mean, it is good. You do bring up a valid point where it's going to be interesting to see if he's in right field and McCarthy's relegated to a platoon role with him. Are we only going to see Tyler Freeman against lefties? Are we going to see does that mean that Jake McCarthy is done against facing lefties? But having his speed, whether he's on the bench or he's in the lineup every day, is going to be a value, especially in pinch run situations if he's not starting. And again, Troy Johnson, Sarah, you do bring up a valid point, given his attitude and how much he, not just again, great interview with Chris, but he does have that. Again, I think anybody who loves sports, whether it's a young guy or a veteran, you love that attitude of, okay, how can both what do I need to do to make myself better? Or what are the extra things I can do to make myself just a little bit better each day? But also the guy who says, listen, whether I'm starting or I'm on the bench, what can I do that day to help my team win? Even if it's offer emotional support, or if it's even just laying down this bunt or coming in to run for the guy on second, or be that pinch runner who comes in as the ghost runner on second to be the guy to get that run that ultimately leads to either the win or the walk-off. I think he stands a good choice. Again, it is going to be interesting, especially, but I think it's one thing is going to be very telling is what is the opening day outfield configuration. Again, we know who's going to be in center field, barring something crazy, but just seeing who plays those two corner spots, and then how are the DH it's not going to be one guy like a David Ortiz or a Frank Thomas at DH. What is that revolving door going to look like? Other than, of course, Hunter Goodman when he's not in the field behind the plate, he'll be the DH. But how are those at bats going to be doled out? Because you want to get a good look at the young players that we have on this roster and who is part of that core moving forward. So that's my interesting concern. How is this rotation, I guess you could say, going to be handled? And of course, who is I guess you could say, the starting corner infielders on opening day? Is it going to be Karros? Am I wrong? Is it not going to be Willie Castro? Is he going to be at second base? And who's going to be the first baseman?
It would be so awesome if they just stuck with everyone's best positional situation defensively.
Mm-hmm.
So for that reason, yeah, Castro can play third. Castro has played most games at second or in the outfield at a corner spot. And so it feels like Castro at second makes the most sense defensively. Karros at third makes the most sense defensively. He's already kind of demonstrated that he's an MLB ready defensive third baseman. So that makes sense. First base is, like you said earlier, Tom, it's interesting because, Blaine Crim is not huge either. So he's a decent looking first baseman though. He's not bad. He's not terrible. But I mean, with the platoon of Johnston and Crim, that could work just fine. I think also offensively, people underrate Blaine Crim. Small sample size. Again, I get it. You hit 355 against the fastball. Okay. So easy platoon option there. We shouldn't be so quick to get rid of him, at least for that reason, until we see if there's any more in the tank there. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're the Rockies, you're fine with that corner infield setup with Karros and then the platoon of Johnston and Crim at first, at least until Rumfield or Condon is ready. And then you have Castro at second. I don't know if you want to play Freeman at second and Castro in right. That would be kind of weird because Freeman is not as good at second base as he is in right field. So yeah, a lot of interesting decisions though. I'm sure the comments have some interesting thoughts about this.
There's one. Funny you bring that up. There's one. It's this one from Weil. Who do we think is going to lead the club in stolen bases this season? I mean, my money's on Jake McCarthy, considering he's the one who has had that routine year after year, consistent production on the base pedestal. So if I had to hold it to a name, that's my pick. So what do you guys think?
I think it's going to depend on how much playing time he gets. I think he will definitely be up there. I can see, I don't know. And it's kind of hard to say at this point too, because you were seeing a lot more, again, I hammer on this all the time. Warren had these guys taking a lot more risk on the base path. And so you were seeing there's some guys that have some sneaky speed that you don't really look at him and you think, oh, he's pretty quick. But I mean, Jordan Beck was one that surprised me. Do I think he's going to lead the team? No. But I don't know. Tyler's pretty fast too. I could see it being, just depending on playing time, Tyler or Jake would be a pretty easy pick there.
No Brenton Doyle. We forgot about Brenton.
See, he's another. that's
So-
another that kind of goes back into Warren was really pushing, really taking those risks on the base path and really taking off a lot more. Brenton could very well get up there because he is going to be your everyday guy.
But he was a 20-30 guy the last time he was healthy. So
Yeah.
I think he'd probably be my pick. Yeah, I think McCarthy will steal a decent amount of bases for the playing time that he gets, platooning or otherwise, with someone in the outfield. I like Jordan Beck too. It's a sneaky pick. I like the mentioning of him. I think he has an underrated speed element. He's a sneaky 4-tool player, believe it or not,
Yeah.
Jordan Beck. So I like him up there too. But Brenton is probably my number one because he's going to be out there every day, like we've already said. And so if he's healthy and assuming he doesn't have other major life circumstances that prevent him from playing well, I don't see why he can't get back to being 20-30, 25-30 even, maybe improve a little bit, So, yeah.
I think it's safe to say, I mean, it just goes to show you, if Warren does give guys green lights on the base pads, what's to stop them from having multiple guys over 20 steals this season? I mean, McCarthy, as we're talking about, we already named two who definitely get there, McCarthy and Doyle, considering Doyle, as you mentioned, Chris, Doyle will play every day. McCarthy could play, if not anything, be at least half the season, and he's not afraid to run. Jordan Beck could too. I mean, even Mickey Moniak could definitely let up the base pass for sure. So, and what's to stop them from, pending the situation, just sending Hunter Goodman on a steal? I'm just kidding. Anyway, but again, the more runners we can move into scoring position from first, or even, again, dare to say somebody goes from second to third, it's all about creating havoc and trying to find new situations to create runs.
Braxton Fulford is another one that is sneaky quick too.
Yes. How many catchers do you know with an 88th percentile speed rating? Very few.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
There is one that comes to mind. I don't know if he ranked 88th percentile when he was playing. I have to look it up. But Josh Willingham, I don't know if you guys remember that name. He was a former Marlins top prospect who transitioned from catcher into, he played a fair amount of left field. So I have to look up his speed percentile rankings, but that's another one that comes to mind. This one probably doesn't count because he was drafted as a catcher and then, of course, was moved immediately to the outfield. Bryce Harper came into baseball as a catcher, but because of his athleticism and the Nationals wanted to lengthen his career, he's a guy who even, obviously he's gotten a bit older and he doesn't run as much, but he had some sneaky good athleticism even for a guy like him who, as I said, was drafted as a catcher. But he's definitely a different guy. I don't want to put him in he's in his own category, so as an elite player. So, but yeah,
I think, really, and you saw glimpses of it, and even in the last couple of seasons, you've seen some glimpses of it, and some of these guys we don't have anymore. But I think that now with that push to stretch more out of every hit, be more aggressive on the base path, there's a lot of speedy guys in this lineup, and people just didn't get to see a whole lot of it up to this point. But I think I agree. I very easily feel you could have several guys in this lineup with 20 steals pretty easily.
For sure. To your point here with this comment from Wild about the speed of Jake McCarthy is going to be interesting and pending his place in the order. To your points there, I think you made this comment on the last episode too, having somebody to turn over the lineup. So if he doesn't lead off, McCarthy could be an option to, at the 9 spot, to flip everything over back to the top of the order. And we have another comment here from Lux as well. If Rumfield does have TJ Rumfield has a good spring, wouldn't mind giving him a chance at first base. Then Julian is a bench. Chris, you did comment about it. Julian could be more viewed as a bench bat, but I think, Rumfield coming in here, people make light of, he was only the 22nd ranked Yankees prospect, but he's a big guy. He's tall. He's 6'5". He's a lefty, which is definitely helpful at Coors Field. And he has the power potential. And like I said, he could be a sneaky bit of a surprise as spring training rolls along. What do you guys think about that one? I'm a Rumfield guy, so that's my thing.
Well, people keep talking about the Rockies needing to add another first baseman. And it's like, well, they already did. This is the first baseman that they needed to add. And so they got that guy. They got an MLB ready younger player who was a top 30 prospect, but even though he was on the bottom end of the top 30 in the Yankees organization, tore up AAA. I mean, 285 with like double-digit home runs. It's not bad. So like he's MLB ready. And so I wouldn't mind if he was the first baseman. Honestly, I think that'd be my preference. I think I said that last week on Hoops and Homers too. I wouldn't have an issue if Rumfield was just given the job outright after earning it in spring. And then you have a Rumfield Karros corner infield situation. That would be my dream situation. But Julian at first, no, that should not happen. If Julian is your starting first baseman on opening day, there are a lot of issues. And I just don't see that happening. I just don't see it happening. He's got so much more value at second defensively, and then off the bench primarily as a pinch hitter. So.
Well, I like Rumfield, especially for his size. Him and Mike are like 10 pounds off from being the exact same guy in that spot. So I like that he's a bigger dude, and I did have to go kind of look. I mean, I kept hearing the name floating around, but I did have to go look when we did get him, and I liked what I saw from him. I think it would be great. Like I had mentioned, because I kind of forget about him every now and then too. If they had gone out and added like a veteran to get ready, that wouldn't have been a bad thing. But they did go get a younger guy, and if he can prove it in spring training that he is ready to go, then give it to him. Why not?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say, well, the one thing I don't think Rumfield will get that Michael Toglia did is make an acrobatic home run robbing catch in right field. I don't think he's
probably not.
That's because I don't think Rumfield's even played the outfield since coming into pro ball. So, I mean, the one thing we'll always have, Sarah, is of course I think I mentioned in the last episode, we'll always have that acrobatic catch in right field in St. Louis.
We will. And I did I was at the game. I was at the second home game last season when they turned that triple play. So I will always have Mike catching the third out of that. So it's always going to be right here for me.
For sure. You best believe. Hey, there's a comment in here about the Rockies wins. I think.
Yeah, I'll go. So, I will go up to it. Yes, correct.
I want to know your guys' perspectives. Okay, we've talked about the rotation, talked a little bit about the bullpen, we've talked about the lineup and the bench. How many wins do you think this team, or your understanding of what you want this team or think this team will be in 2026? How many games do you think this team will reasonably win?
When healthy. Okay, well, just for the listening audience, we have a comment here. It says, I don't get how people in the comments think this is an 70 to 80 win team. No way. Here's my reasonable thing. So I look at how there's rebuild progression when it comes to wins, losses year after year until you kind of get into that conversation of being a contender. Given where their wins were last year, and again, I try to forget about it, having 119 losses. My reasonable thought is if they can get to that 55 win mark, to me, that is a big mark of success. That's ideally where I think they can fit. Again, we have to remember, even though the Padres are shedding payroll, the Giants are kind of trying to take that step up in the division to take their spot. And of course, this division is still ruled by the Dodgers. I'm not afraid to say it. I think a reasonable set for me is if they can get over that 50 win plateau and towards the middle mark of 55, 56, maybe even 57 wins in this division. And with the National League still being a fairly strong overall setup, I think that's, to me, is not being unreasonable. And I do like the veteran additions they made, so I think that puts us in good position to compete for that amount. That's where my head is thinking logically as far as it goes. Getting into that 55 win plateau, I think would be good. I know it's not what we want to hear, it's not what we want to think, but we have to make incremental improvements. And I think given where we are, I think it's not too outlandish to think that's where we could be.
Okay, fair enough. Sarah?
I'm going to give a number that is going to be a little bit higher than that. I don't see 70 to 80 this year. I mean, there could be a surprise there, but I think reasonably with the changes that have been made and just with the style of play that we saw being pushed by Warren last season, I think you could see 60 or 61. Maybe they hit that 62 and only lose 100. I don't really see it going any further than that, and that is with a really solid season, of course. But I think that they've put some pretty good pieces in place, and we could see. We're not going to see a playoff contender, of course, but I think we could drop that a lot closer to 100 than we have been. So,
Okay.
a little bit of a hot take.
Fair enough.
Fair.
Fair enough.
So we have a couple of comments. 60 is what people are thinking, and according to Wild, the current betting line is under or over 52.5.
Yeah. Okay. You ready for my prediction here, guys?
Go ahead, Chris. I'd love to hear
Let's
it.
go, Chris.
Okay. All right. Here you go. Because I'm about to say something that might make people think I'm a little bit ridiculous, but I'm going to explain. Okay.
Okay.
This year, if the team is healthy, this is a 67 to 70 win team. Okay. And I'm going to tell you why.
No, go ahead.
Tell you exactly why. First off, let's not underrate the absolute incompetence of last season. To be one of the worst teams historically of all time is not easy to do. Okay, believe it or not. The absolute incompetence of the decisions that were made, the signings that were made, the trades that were not made, the decision to bring back people when injuries happened that had already been let go, that you're like, well, I have familiarity with this guy. He's not been good, but we need a guy who's plug and play. Terrible season last season. Terrible leadership, terrible coaching, terrible play. So what's the case this season? You got a completely new leadership staff, okay, with MLB experience. You brought in a coaching staff that is significantly younger, significantly better at relating to the generation that they're coaching, that is known throughout the league for years of being good coaches, good teachers, good analytically. And you combine that with the personnel that we've already talked about, okay? You got rid of a negative 11 WAR worth of players this offseason. You kept 7 WAR worth of players, and you added 3 WAR worth of players. Those are all floors, by the way. And that itself is a net 20 WAR swift change in wins. Swift like that. That's just transactions. You gained 20 WAR with those transactions going into 2026. So at a bare minimum, this team has gone from 43 to 63 wins at the risk of oversimplification. If you see the next steps being taken by Hunter Goodman, by Tovar, by Doyle, by some of these guys who are in year 3, year 4, which is right around when guys start putting it together, and you maybe get some more out of the guys like Castro. Maybe he gets back to maybe being a 2 WAR player. Maybe you get McCarthy back to a 1.5, 2 WAR player. This is just mathematically, assuming they stay healthy, a 70-win team at best. That's still bad, but it's normal bad, right? So, and so that's what ultimately I mean. I don't think we should underrate how truly terrible last season was by saying that all the change that's happened this year will only contribute to a 12 to 17 win improvement the next year. I think it'll be upwards of 20, 25, but really no more than 70, because I think that's about the max. But Vegas is completely off on that. If I was a betting man, I would bet over on 52.5.
I would agree. And Chris, you do bring up a good point. I think that the fact that not just there is leadership change, but if the leadership holds standards, I don't think it's too far-fetched to believe that having actual standards in a team in a team and also the front office and what's on the field wouldn't be a bad thing to overlook. Plus, also a full season from a healthy Brenton Doyle. Who knows? I mean, there's no indicator to say he can't be 2024 Brenton Doyle all over again.
I think he absolutely can. And see, Chris, I was excited to see what you were going to say because you are so analytically driven, and your breakdown with the WAR that was shed versus what was kept and what was acquired. I was really excited to see what you were going to say. So I love hearing that mathematically you see 70 wins, because I mean, I look at the stats, I look at the numbers, I can make sense of all of those things, but you are so deep into it that you can, because I can sit here all day long and say, I would love to see them win 70 games this season, and people are going to, look at me like I'm insane But then you can come along with the numbers and you can say, and this is exactly why they're going to win these games. Because I'm over here like, I don't know, I feel like it's a good vibe to win 70 games this season. Like that's the vibe I'm feeling from this. But mathematically, you can back that up, and which is why I kind of went a little optimistic anyway, was saying I feel like we can hit it just straight at 100 losses rather than hitting 110, anything like that. I feel like that's going to be significantly reduced anyway. But I love having you here to show everybody those numbers and be like, no, this is why.
It's just the case, man. I'm just the communicator of the information.
Well, remember, math doesn't always lie, because when it comes to math, there's only one right answer. But
Several different ways to get it, but one right answer.
well, here's another comment I want to bring up Doyle, but also a good season from Tovar. Tom, not me, Tom, a different Tom in the comments section says, if Tovar and Doyle play most of last season, there are no way to have as many losses. That's true, because as we just talked about,
Agreed.
Brett Doyle is 24, 2024, and then Tovar, he has a full healthy season. I mean, the sky is the limit for that pairing. Just think about it, because the only one, of course, who people were paying attention to was Hunter Goodman.
Yeah.
Or at least on a national scale, that is, of course. So,
Yeah. And I mean, you guys talked about the WAR projections, right, for 2026 on one of the recent episodes. And I think it's always important to remember those are floors, at least the way I interpret those projections, because it's like, well, you see so-and-so player having this particular WAR projected. It's like, well, that doesn't really make sense. Right. Of course it doesn't make sense. It's a floor, right? So if you were to even add a few points of WAR to those projections, assuming like we said, they take those next steps, it's like, yeah, you could easily see this team being normal bad in 2026, and then taking more steps in 2027, 2028, hopefully by the end of the decade, being an 80-win team at a minimum.
That's the even if you look at I don't think Pacoda has released their projections. Even no matter if you look at Fangraphs or Pacoda or even Zips, it doesn't matter. You're right, Chris. I mean, floor is floor. You can always, the floor is there for a reason. You can always go past that. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's no such thing as a mathematical ceiling.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Except you cannot have more than 162 wins in a season. That is mathematically impossible.
Well, what if no, I guess you wouldn't be playing at game 163 if you went 162 and 0.
which we personally have played in before. So, and unfortunately that was just a sad, unfortunate loss. But actually, sorry, that was a sad, unfortunate loss that we did against the team who we want to take down off the top of the throne. But again, if you know what I'm talking about, look at the 2018 season.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's just a game it's a game in LA I don't want to remember.
Wild's got a good question over here.
Sure.
Yeah. Wild's got a good question over here. How does the rest of the division play?
I would say, in terms of us playing against the division, I mean, anybody can be anybody in any given time. Just because the Dodgers are still the favorite doesn't mean we can take one or two series from them throughout the season. I mean, to use Chris's mathematical optimism, why not? We could, who knows? What's to say against us sweeping the Dodgers? If we can sweep anybody in this division, if you show up to play any given day or any given series, you can sweep. We can stack what. I see us being way more competitive than last year in games. I don't think we're going to have as many blowout losses, because even if you're a winning team or a losing team, you're going to suffer blowout losses. Those are inevitable. You just show up and it's not your day. But I just think we're going to be more competitive this year. That's my personal opinion. Even against the teams that are at the top of the league, that I just don't see us. I see us not being tossed around and beaten down as badly as we were last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I would agree with that. I think Wilds actually had another comment down here that was interesting. If the Rockies find some way to climb into fourth place in this division, what NL West team moves into fifth? I like that question better. I don't know if that'll happen. I think it's probably either the Giants or the D-backs. Yeah, we would say that. And I think I'd probably pick the D-backs, especially if Corbin Carroll misses a decent amount of time to start the season.
Yeah, I would definitely say Arizona would be the one that would drop down to that fifth place. I don't really see where. I just haven't seen them make a lot of moves that made me just go, oh, they're really trying to do something this season. They've done a couple things here and there, but it's just been like keeping them kind of at the same place that they were already at. And so I think if anybody's dropping down, it's probably going to be them. Because I mean, the Giants, I don't know. Tony V is such a wild card in that manager's position. I am really, and he's put together a really good coaching staff around him. I'm really, I don't know what the right word is. Like, I don't want to say I'm excited to see what he's going to do, but I'm very curious as to how this is going to go for him this year.
I think it's going to be the Diamondbacks. And Nolan, if you hear us, we're sorry. We don't mean it against you. You didn't unfortunately can't always determine your situation, but sorry, pal. I agree. It's the Diamondbacks. Torey Lovello, he has a measurable thing about him, but one thing I hate about the Diamondbacks, I'm not a fan of their ownership. Ken Kendrick I put him in the bottom 10, maybe 5 of owners in Major League Baseball. First of all, that whole HVAC system with their ballpark is an old separate issue, but that's different. I think it's the Diamondbacks if we're going to pass anybody, and I think the Padres are going to move back to third. That's my thing. The Giants, if anything, are going to be the one who I think has the best chance to challenge the Dodgers for first place. I think the Dodgers are still going to win it, but it's just, yeah. If we move in, I just don't know about the Diamondbacks because you pointed out, Chris, Corbin Carroll, because wasn't it his handmade bone that he injured?
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna if it was, that's gonna be a huge problem because that, for those of the viewing audience here, it's at the back bottom of your hand right here, right over to the wrist. That's not
right here.
Yeah, correct. That's not going to be that is not an easy, especially when you're a guy.
Was Corbin's injury a hamate? I thought that was Jackson Holiday.
Yeah. It's all three, him, Lindor, and Holiday, all three.
Really? All three?
Yeah.
That's three young stars.
3 of them.
That's 3 of the youngest stars in the game.
Look at the time.
And they're all 3 having surgery.
Lindor, young. Did you say youngest and Lindor in the same sentence?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I forgot Lindor's in that. I forgot Lindor's in that group. My mistake. But 3 guys who are known him.
I'm still there with you, man. The late 2010s was the vibe for sure. So I remember Baby Lindor. That was the vibe.
Oh yes. Back in the days before the Guardians were the Indians. So.
Yeah. Right. Craziness, man.
And of course he was. I remember, taken back to 16 when he was playing in the World Series as a rookie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, and Sarah, also for you, wild, here's a comment. Intrigue would be a word you could
okay.
use.
Yeah, I like that, wild. Thank you. Because part of it is that I am a Tennessee fan through and through. So to see Tony doing this, I'm excited for him. I'm not excited that he is in the division at all. I would have way rather him been anywhere else. But yeah, intrigued would be a good word for it.
What about the thought of, because here's real quick and then there's one more topic I want to cover before maybe we end the episode. Because I think when you have a guy like Nolan at the stage he's in his career joining the Diamondbacks to play third. Remember when they made the World Series a couple years ago, they had ending Evan Longoria playing third base. I mean, again, I'm not trying to say that this Diamondbacks team is comparable to that Diamondbacks team, but I don't know. I'm getting vibes like that. Is this like another Evan Longoria? Again, Nolan had a better career than Evan Longoria. I'm not downplaying your career, Evan Longoria, but could this be a similar situation where Nolan is that guy who tries to motivate? Because let's face it, Nolan is probably one of the more, I don't want to say psychotic, but more that one of those insane competitors. Because we've seen him yell at guys in the dugout before, especially in the early days of his career. Could he be that guy that maybe just helps the Diamondbacks from a a clubhouse morale standpoint that just pushes them in? I don't know. That's just what's popping into my head. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes.
I think you have to have a healthy Corbin Carroll for them to really do anything. Not to say, not that they don't have a good lineup, but you have to have a healthy Corbin Carroll. Like, he's just such a threat in so many ways. I don't see them, if he is out for any decent amount of time, then I think it's going to be a real struggle for them this season.
Don't forget Zach Gallen is still out there too.
Oh yeah.
That's true. That's true. Well, that's kind of what I was going to say. I think the issue with the D-backs last year was more their pitching, right? So not necessarily Corbin Carroll that they have to be concerned about, but more, they do obviously, but more so, how about the other Corbin Burns, right? If he can come back and give them something in their rotation, then it's a different situation for them. They also got Paul Sewald back for what that's worth. So, I mean, they've got the pitching more in order, presumably. We'll see how that translates for them in 2026. But that's definitely the larger issue between their offense and their pitching, what they needed to work on this offseason.
And the last, I think, subject I think we can close the episode on is obviously hitting is important, but of course, Jim K comments, defense is important, of course. So given the fact that we have a lot of guys, Chris, as you point, obviously we have a number of guys who throw sinkers in the rotation now. Defense is going to be important, especially as we bring younger guys up to pitch on the mound. I mean, I think our defense can be definitely exceptional, most notably in center field and behind the plate, because I think Hunter Goodman's defense is a little underrated or not as talked about as much as people give him credit for. So, again, unfortunately, we don't have Michael Toglia at first base to hunker down first base from a defensive standpoint, but it is going to be extremely important this year, especially going forward, because again, Coors Field, the ball flies. So what are your guys' thoughts as far as where our defense, as it sets up, who we have could be on the field now?
Sarah?
I think, with a healthy Tovar, that's obviously a huge plus. If Kyle Karros, because of course, and I have said this before about Karros, I don't think he's a bad player by any stretch of the imagination, but I was a little underwhelmed with him just because I was so used to Ryan McMahon being Ryan McMahon, and before him, and of course Nolan before that. But I think if Karros continues to do what he's doing and improve, of course, second base, you've got Willie Castro. You have the possibility of Tyler Freeman is not a bad second baseman. Ryan Ritter, of course, is in that mix as well. I think there's a lot of solid pieces in there to put up a much better defensive season than what we saw last year, just in the infield alone. And of course, you've got Brenton Doyle out there, Superman in center. I think it's going to be I think you're going to see a lot better than what we saw last year for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, it will be important. So that's a great note. I mean, we've got a rotation that's pretty much entirely pitch to contact. So there will be a lot of defending to do. But I think there's a reason to be optimistic with that, right? You got defensively, right? You think arm strength, you think fielding, you think speed too. And so, I mean, Mickey Moniak, average arm plus speed, Tyler Freeman plus arm plus speed, Goodman, like Tom said, underrated defense. Okay. He's actually a plus defender behind home plate. You got Beck with a solid arm, good speed. You got Doyle, obviously Gold Glove winner in center field. You got Tovar, Gold Glove winner at short. You got Castro with good arm strength for what that's worth at second or third or right or wherever he ends up playing. And then you've got Karros, who's got plus fielding, even though the arm strength isn't necessarily there, average speed. And then over at first base is probably your weakest defensive spot, right? You've got average fielders, average arm strength, average speed. And then obviously off the bench, we haven't even talked about Jake McCarthy yet either, right? He's got plus speed, plus fielding. And so this is going to be a team that I think is situated to help those contact pitchers, at least in the starting rotation, for most of that game, which actually works really nicely, right? Because like we said earlier, the bench isn't really made for being defensive substitutions. They're made for being pinch hitters in pinch hit situations. And so you can start the game with all your best defenders in the game, pretty much, at least in my starting lineup that we talked about earlier. That really helps those pitch to contact guys. Then later on, once you've pinch hit for maybe some of those defensive guys throughout the game, when the bullpen comes in, when the gas throwers come in, when the guys who are better at getting chased and strikeouts come in, like the Juan Mejias, like the maybe Seth Halversons, like the Jimmy Hergets, right? When they come into the game, now that pressure is a little bit less. And so I think the team, even just structurally that way, is set up a lot nicer in 2026 than they were in 2025. But yeah, defense will be huge.
Well, before we know it, it's already spring training. Before we know it, opening day will be here against the Marlins. So, and again, things are going to shake out and interesting. So we'll have more to talk about as spring training rolls along. So anyway, we just want to say thank you to all the people who participated in the comments. We got a lot of comments during this episode. So everybody, whoever participated, who wanted to type something in, whether it was on X or YouTube, we appreciate it very much. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Rockies Now podcast. Again, if you are not subscribed to our Instagram, to X page, and YouTube and Threads page, please do so. And don't forget, we have not just the Rockies Now YouTube channel, but the 5280 Media channel. Chris, Hoops and Homers is tomorrow, so be sure mark it on your calendars tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Chris,
it is 6:30 p.m. Yes, sir. And if you want a deeper dive on Sagano and Quintana, you're going to want to be there probably starting around 7:05 p.m. Mountain Standard Time tomorrow. I'll do a deep dive with my buddy on both of those guys, their arsenals, their pitch mix, shapes, etc. So yeah, be there for that.
All right, mark it down, everybody. Be sure you're there for that one. That's going to be definitely quite an episode. So tune into that one. So again, everyone, thank you so much. So again, please subscribe to the Rockies Now YouTube and 5280 Media pages for more updates that come along. So everyone, thank you again for tuning in. And as always, go Rockies.